You're not in the band because of Stevie.
That was what I was told by Irving, that she gave them an ultimatum. Either Lindsey goes or I go.
Everyone saw the chemistry between Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham on stage. What they didn't see was the war behind closed doors. She wrote Dreams about him. He wrote Go Your Own Way about her. But those songs were just the beginning. In 2021, Stevie finally exposed what really happened. The sabotage, the jealousy, and why she gave the band an ultimatum that cost millions. She even revealed the exact moment she decided to end it all. His reaction proved she made the right choice. She was born on May 26, 1948, in Phoenix, Arizona, at Good Samaritan Hospital. Her name was Stephanie Lynn Nicks. Her father, Jess Nicks, was a rising corporate star who eventually became president of Armourdile and executive vice president of Greyhound. But his career meant the family was always on the move. They never settled for long. That kind of life taught Stevie from an early age that nothing lasts forever. Even her name didn't stay the same. As a toddler, she couldn't pronounce Stephanie, so she called herself TD. Over time, that became Stevie. It stuck. And just like her name, her identity would keep evolving. Music entered her life through someone very close. Her grandfather, Aaron Jess A.J. Nicks Sr., born on May 28, 1892. A.J. was a country singer who never found fame, but he believed in Stevie. When she was just 5 and missing her front teeth, he paid her 50 cents a week to sing with him. He told her, "You're a harmony singer, honey." They practiced songs like It's Late by Dorsey Burnett. He dreamed of taking her on tour as an old coot and his granddaughter, but her mother wouldn't allow it. She wanted to protect Stevie from that kind of life. Still, AJ lit a fire in her. He showed her that music wasn't just something you hear, it was something you feel and create. Because of her dad's job, Stevie's life never stayed in one place. The family lived all over: Phoenix, Los Angeles, Albuquerque, El Paso, Salt Lake City, Chicago, and several towns in California. Stevie sometimes stayed behind to finish school. In her song Candlebright, she described herself as a nomad rolling around my whole life. She had to learn how to adjust quickly, how to connect with people fast, and how to be okay with starting over. That constant movement gave her the emotional resilience she would later need when the music world got rough. Her 16th birthday changed everything. It was 1964. Her parents rented her a Goya guitar and got her lessons. That same day, her first boyfriend broke up with her. She took the heartbreak and turned it into her first song. I've loved and I've lost, and I'm sad but not blue. The lyrics were raw, simple, and honest. I once loved a boy who was wonderful and true, but he loved another before he loved me. That's when it clicked. She wasn't just someone who liked music. She was a songwriter, and her parents saw it too. Something had shifted. From that point on, music wasn't just a hobby. It was her purpose. Her taste in music was unexpected for someone who would become a rock icon. She grew up listening to Top 40 radio in the 50s and early 60s. She loved girl groups like the Shirelles, Martha Reeves, and the Vandellas, and the Shangri-Las. One song, Remember, Walking in the Sand, haunted her in the best way. She absorbed those sounds deeply. Then came her grandfather's country music influence. That mix of pop, soul, folk, and country shaped her style. It's why her songs later blended genres so smoothly. It's also why she could work with people like Tom Petty, Don Henley, and even Harry Styles decades later. Her sound had no walls around it, but everything truly began to take form when she met Lindsey Buckingham. It was 1966. Stevie was a senior at Lindsey was a junior. They met at a Young Life meeting, which was basically a weekly excuse for teens to socialize. Lindsey was sitting in someone's living room playing California Dreamin'. Stevie heard him and walked over. She joined in, harmonizing without missing a beat. I thought he was a darling, she later said. Their voices matched like they were made for each other. Still, after that night, they didn't see each other again for 2 years. The magic was real, but the timing wasn't. Then, in 1968, everything changed. Lindsey called Stevie. His band, Fritz, needed a lead singer. The group had started as a high school act, but was now booking bigger and bigger gigs. Stevie said yes. She had been playing folk music up to that point, but Fritz was pure psychedelic rock. Within weeks of joining, she was opening for Janis Joplin, Jefferson Airplane, and other legends. One day, she was singing quiet folk songs, and the next, she was on stage in front of thousands. Fritz gave her the rock and roll crash course she didn't even know she needed. During their 3.5 years in Fritz, Stevie and Lindsey weren't romantically involved. In fact, Stevie dated other people. The band had an unspoken rule: no one could date her. Yet they didn't want outsiders getting close to her either. If anybody in the band started spending any time with me, the other three would literally pick that person apart, she said. The tension was constant, and it wore the band down. When Fritz fell apart in 1971, it was a relief in some ways. Stevie and Lindsey were finally free to explore their connection, musically and personally. But just as they were planning their next step, something unexpected happened. Lindsey got mononucleosis, not just a mild case. His lasted nearly a year. Stevie became his caretaker. She cooked, cleaned, and kept him company, while also writing songs and planning their future. This time together bonded them more deeply than performing ever could. They were no longer just bandmates. They were a team. Their partnership became something neither of them fully understood at the time, but they both felt it. That illness delayed their move to Los Angeles, but it also gave them time to grow, to think, and to get ready for what was coming. By the time Fritz ended, they had already opened for Jimi Hendrix, Santana, Chicago, and the Steve Miller Band. They'd played legendary venues like the Fillmore and Winterland. Stevie soaked up every moment. "I saw Jimi Hendrix play once, and I remember thinking, I want to wear white fringe. I want to tie a beautiful scarf in my hair," she said. Fritz never released an album, but they did record several songs, including Take Advantage of Me and Where Was I? That last one, written by Stevie, was about betrayal and being left out. It hinted at the emotional depth she would later pour into every Fleetwood Mac record. When Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham arrived in Los Angeles in late 1972, their dreams of music stardom collided with a harsh reality. The city was full of hopefuls, and most of them were broke. Stevie worked multiple jobs just to survive, waitressing at Bob's Big Boy, Clementine's, and the Copper Penny. She even cleaned houses to pay the bills. One of those houses belonged to producer Keith Olsen, the man who was producing their album. She was scrubbing his floors by day and recording vocals by night. "I was pretty grown up when I joined Fleetwood Mac," she later said. "I wouldn't have been able to handle overnight success otherwise. Money was so tight, they often split a single hamburger or slice of pizza for dinner." Stevie believed Lindsey needed to focus fully on his music. She covered the bills so he could lie on the floor with his guitar, practicing day and night. Their big break was supposed to come in 1973 with their debut album, Buckingham Nicks. Recorded at Sound City Studios and released by Polydor, the album had everything: 10 well-crafted songs, session musicians like Waddy Wachtel and Jim Keltner, and strong performances. But the album flopped. It was pulled quickly, and Polydor dropped them. Their names faded into the background, and their debts kept growing. The cover even misspelled Stevie's name as Stevie. Despite its failure, the album slowly became a cult classic, and years later, it would be reissued. At the time, though, it just meant more disappointment. Stevie and Lindsey were heartbroken. All the sacrifices they'd made had led to nothing. They still owed money to Sound City for the sessions. It felt like rock bottom. That failure put serious strain on their relationship. Living in poverty and constantly under pressure, they started fighting. Loud, intense arguments that ended with Lindsey sleeping on the floor, while Stevie stayed in the bedroom with her dog. Stevie continued working low-paying jobs, while Lindsey refused to take anything that felt like selling out. She later said, "I was totally devoted to making it happen for him." She believed in him so much that she didn't care if she was the one cleaning houses or serving food. But that imbalance created resentment. It hurt her, even if she didn't show it then. Years later, the pain still echoed in their words and their music. Despite the tension, their bond with Keith Olsen remained strong. He wasn't just their producer, he became their lifeline. Olsen let them live in his house, and in return, Stevie cleaned it. He believed in them even when no one else did. His studio, Sound City, was filled with dreams. Some realized, some broken. Olsen already had credits with bands like The Music Machine and would eventually produce over 100 albums, earning more than 39 gold and 24 platinum certifications. When other doors were closing, he kept one open for them. He never let them forget their potential. confidential, even when they were living off scraps and sleeping on borrowed couches. During those sessions, they met Waddy Wachtel, a skilled guitarist brought in by Olsen. Waddy would go on to be a major figure in both their lives. Olsen had warned him, "Lindsey doesn't know how to play with anyone else. Help him learn." So they jammed, smoked hash, and played old demo tapes together. Waddy became a bridge between their isolated bubble and the professional world of session players. It was the first time Lindsey had to truly collaborate, and it shaped him as a musician. Years later, Waddy would be the one playing the unforgettable riff on Stevie's solo hit Edge of 17. That friendship had started in the shadows of a failed album, and it never left. Then came the twist of fate that would change everything. In late 1974, Mick Fleetwood visited Sound City Studios looking for a new space to record. Fleetwood Mac was in trouble. Bob Welch had just quit, and they needed a new guitarist. Keith Olsen played a track from Buckingham Nicks, a 7-minute song called Frozen Love. Fleetwood was immediately hooked. The sound was fresh, the guitar work electric. He was grooving to this searing solo, Lindsey said later. Fleetwood didn't know it yet, but this was the beginning of a new Fleetwood Mac. All he wanted was a guitar player, but what he got was something entirely different. When Fleetwood approached Lindsey about joining, he didn't jump at the offer. In fact, he hesitated. Despite being broke, Lindsey wasn't sure about joining a band with a long history in blues rock. That wasn't his style. He liked pop, experimentation, harmonies. Fleetwood Mac was the past. He wanted to invent the future. He also didn't want to leave Stevie behind. They built everything together. Their sound, their vision, their sacrifices. It was all shared. Stevie saw the opportunity clearer than he did. She listened to every Fleetwood Mac album, trying to understand how they could fit in. "We could join Fleetwood Mac," she told him, "or we could move to Birmingham, Alabama." There, they were getting airplay. But moving to Alabama felt like giving up. Stevie knew this was their only real chance, so Lindsey called back with conditions. If he was joining, Stevie was coming too. "We're a package deal," he told Fleetwood. That was unexpected. Fleetwood had never imagined adding both a guitarist and a female singer. He was worried about how Christine McVie, the band's only woman at the time, would react. But after some thought, the band agreed. Stevie and Lindsey would both join. It was risky. It would change everything about Fleetwood Mac, their sound, their chemistry, their identity. But it was a risk worth taking. On New Year's Eve, 1974, Stevie and Lindsey officially joined Fleetwood Mac. It was the end of one chapter and the start of something none of them could have predicted. Just a few weeks later, on January 26, 1975, they began rehearsals. They still had some Buckingham Nicks shows to finish, including a final one in Birmingham, Alabama. That night, they sold out a 6,000-seat venue. "We were totally unknown in LA," Lindsey remembered, but in Birmingham, they were going nuts. It was poetic. The city that had embraced them during failure gave them one final send-off before they became part of rock history. In early 1976, Fleetwood Mac entered the studio to record Rumors, but behind the scenes, everything was collapsing. Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham had just broken up. They tried to pretend things were fine for the sake of the band. "We were breaking up when we joined Fleetwood Mac," Stevie later said. She admitted they got back together temporarily just to keep the band from falling apart. "I was smart enough to know that if we broke up in the second month of being in Fleetwood Mac, it would have blown the whole thing. So she played nice. She kept things sweet. Lindsey didn't. He was cold, distant, and bitter. And they weren't the only ones struggling. Christine and John McVie, married for 8 years, stopped speaking outside the studio. Their divorce came right in the middle of recording. They only talked about music, nothing else. Meanwhile, drummer Mick Fleetwood discovered his wife Jenny was cheating with his best friend. That's how bad things got. The entire band was a wreck, and yet they kept showing up, they kept recording. Somehow, their personal disaster turned into professional magic. As they laid down tracks, the breakup spilled into the music. Lindsey wrote, "Go Your Own Way." It was furious, angry, and clearly about Stevie. One line, "Packing up, shacking up's all you want to do," hit her like a slap. She hated singing it on stage. "I wanted to go over and kill him," she admitted. So she hit back, but not with rage, with something calmer, wiser, dream. Her lyrics were softer, but still pointed. "When the rain washes you clean, you'll know." It was a message to Lindsey, wrapped in a melody. She later laughed about it. Lindsey's was bitter. Mine was hopeful. Two sides of the same coin. Their fight wasn't just personal. It was playing out in real time, through music, and it worked. Dreams became the band's first and only #1 #1 hit. But the music war didn't stop there. Stevie had written another powerful breakup song, Silver Springs. It was personal, deep, painful, but it didn't make the final album. Lindsey pushed for it to be cut. He said there wasn't room. Instead, it was thrown onto the B-side of Go Your Own Way. Stevie was furious. She believed he did it to silence her. It felt like sabotage, she later said. The song had been her emotional release, and now it was buried. Years later, when the band performed Silver Springs live, it became a fan favorite, a reminder of everything they'd gone through and how it never really healed. Despite all the chaos, Rumors exploded. It hit #1 on February 4th, 1977, and stayed there for 31 weeks. It sold over 21 million copies in the US alone. That's 20x platinum. It won the 1978 Grammy for Album of the Year, and it had an 800,000-unit pre-order, at the time the biggest in Warner Brothers history. The success was massive, but it came at a price. John McVie said the album felt like everyone writing in their journals and diaries about each other. The irony was brutal. The worse their lives got, the better the music sounded. After all of that, Stevie didn't slow down. In 1981, she launched her solo career with Belladonna. It debuted at #1. It was multi-platinum, and it proved something big. Stevie Nicks could shine without Fleetwood Mac. She brought in big names. Tom Petty joined her for Stop Draggin' My Heart Around. Don Henley sang Leather and Lace. Belladonna gave her Edge of 17, one of her most iconic songs. Rolling Stone called her the reigning queen of rock and roll. She wasn't just the voice of Fleetwood Mac anymore. She was a solo star. But with the fame came darker problems. Her cocaine use, which started in the early 70s, spiraled out of control in the 80s. She once said her first encounter was while working as a cleaning lady. Someone left a line of coke behind to test her. That was 1973. By the time she hit her peak, she was spending millions on drugs. Yes, don't I wish we had that money now and I could give it to cancer research, she said later, but it's gone. Her last time using cocaine on stage was in 1986 at Red Rocks. That was her breaking point. For 2-3 years it was fun, she admitted, but it turns into a monster and it will kill you. Despite the addiction, her career kept rising. In 1983, she released The Wild Heart, featuring Stand Back. It had a fresh sound, synth-heavy, modern, but still had her mystical vibe. Then came Rock a Little in 1985, which included Talk to Me. Both albums went platinum. She was touring, recording, performing, all while still part of Fleetwood Mac, but the pace was crushing, and the drugs kept her going. It became a dangerous cycle. Success led to pressure, pressure led to drugs, and drugs kept her on stage. And then there was the affair. During the 1977 Australian tour, Stevie and Mick Fleetwood became lovers. It was brief but messy. Mick was dealing with a broken marriage. Stevie was still reeling from Lindsey. They found comfort in each other, but it only made things more tangled. She wanted help. She was tired of the cocaine, the chaos, the endless high that always came with a crash. So in the late 1980s, Stevie went to a psychiatrist. She was hoping for a way out. Instead, she was handed Klonopin. The doctor told her it would help, said it was safer, legal, clean, nothing like cocaine, but he never warned her what it would do to her. He never told her that this little pill would grab hold of her life and not let go for 8 long years. At first, Klonopin felt like relief. It was prescribed. It came with reassurance. It made her feel stable. But soon, it did something worse than cocaine ever had. It made her dependent. It dulled her spirit. It made her forget who she was. And because it came from a doctor, it felt legitimate, even when it was destroying her from the inside out. She had traded one addiction for another. Only this one came wrapped in a white coat and a prescription pad. By the early 1990s, she knew she had to get off it. But quitting Klonopin wasn't like quitting cocaine. It wasn't just emotional. It was physical, violent. Her body had become so used to the drug that pulling it away sent her into a storm. The detox lasted 47 days. Every day was a war. Her hair went gray. Her skin peeled. Her legs cramped. She couldn't sleep, couldn't move, could barely think. I was in so much pain, she later said. It wasn't just hard. It felt life-threatening. Her body had to relearn how to function without it, and every minute hurt. Those 47 days stretched forever. She stayed home, locked away from the world, counting down hours like a prisoner waiting for freedom. While the drug took over her body, it also changed how the world saw her. In those 8 years, she gained around 30 pounds. At 5'1", that shift was noticeable. Her fans saw it. Her friends saw it. She saw it in the mirror. The floaty, magical figure that once danced across stages was gone. In her place was someone tired, heavy, and disconnected. She stopped going out. She stopped creating. She ordered food in. She pulled away from everything. I became a shadow of my former self, she later admitted. It wasn't just weight, it was silence. She lost her energy, her spark, her connection to music, to people, to herself. Then came the tremors. They weren't subtle. Her hands shook. Her body twitched. People noticed. She noticed. It made her terrified. Was it Parkinson's? Was it something worse? She didn't know. All she knew was that she could no longer hold a microphone steady. She couldn't perform without shaking, and the fear crept in. Was her brain damaged? Had the drug done something permanent? The shaking became a reminder of everything Klonopin had taken. Her grace, her calm, her control. But somewhere in that dark place, a decision formed. She wasn't going to let this drug define the rest of her life. She thought about checking into a posh rehab. She could have, but something in her resisted. The rock star in me wanted to get in a limousine and go to Cedars-Sinai, she said. But then she told herself, you will fight out this 47 days. And she did. At home. Alone. No headlines, no nurses. Just her and the drug, locked in a final battle. That choice, raw and unfiltered, became her turning point. It was painful, but it was hers. It gave her back her power, piece by piece. Years passed. Her body recovered. Her spirit returned. But life had one more storm waiting. In 2018, Fleetwood Mac was being honored at the MusiCares Person of the Year ceremony. It should have been a celebration. Instead, it became the end. The band had been tense for months. Disagreements about tour schedules, set lists, and priorities had pushed them to the edge. That night, everything cracked. Lindsey Buckingham, her longtime musical partner and former lover, acted out. He was rude, especially to Harry Styles. That mattered to Stevie. Harry represented something new, something hopeful, and Lindsey's dismissiveness toward him felt like a slap. He wasn't very nice to Harry Styles, she recalled, but it wasn't just that. Lindsey had been cold to others too, arrogant, bitter, and Stevie had had enough. In the middle of that ceremony, something strange happened. She heard her parents' voices, her mother's first. Are you really going to spend the next 15 years of your life with this man? Then her father's voice, calm and serious. It's time for you guys to get a divorce. It wasn't just memory. It felt like guidance. Her parents had liked Lindsey. That made it real. They weren't telling her to leave out of spite. They were telling her to save herself. She didn't say a word that night. She smiled. She gave her speech. But in her head, the decision was already made. I didn't even tell anybody it had happened in my head until the whole ceremony was over, she later revealed. It happened in a flash, after 50 years of buildup. That night, what was supposed to be a tribute turned into a goodbye. Then came the cameras. During her speech, Lindsey rolled his eyes. Millions saw it. It wasn't subtle. It wasn't respectful. It was petty and public and permanent. For Stevie, it confirmed everything. This wasn't a partnership anymore. It was poison. That single moment captured decades of disrespect. And now it was out there for the world to see. After the event, she acted fast. She told the band, it's him or me. No debate, no drama. Lindsey later admitted it was all Stevie's doing. She wasn't bluffing. She would have walked away from Fleetwood Mac forever. But the band couldn't afford to lose her. She was their face, their legacy. So Lindsey was out. He didn't take it quietly. He sued. Millions were on the line. The farewell tour had been planned, and his firing meant he would miss out. He claimed it was unfair, that it wasn't about behavior. It was about money. The case went public, but not for long. By the end of 2018, it was quietly settled out of court. No winners, just silence. But the silence didn't last. In 2021, Stevie spoke out. She called Lindsey's version revisionist history. She said it was full of lies. She gave her side, clear and direct. His behavior, not her jealousy, had caused the split. She wasn't going to let his story be the only one out there anymore. Then Lindsey pushed back. He told Rolling Stone that Stevie had never gotten over him marrying late in life, that her actions came from jealousy, that she couldn't handle seeing him happy. It was a low blow. Stevie had supported his relationships before. This accusation hurt, and it made it clear that reconciliation was off the table for good. The band moved on without him. They brought in Mike Campbell from Tom Petty's band and Neil Finn from Crowded House. Two musicians to replace one. It wasn't just about filling space. It was about moving forward. Stevie believed Fleetwood Mac could still shine. Lindsey called them a cover band, said they were being dishonest, but the truth was clear. The music continued without him. For Stevie, this wasn't just the end of a partnership. It was the end of a lifetime of second chances. She had survived Klonopin, survived withdrawal, survived losing herself, and now she had survived letting go of someone who once